Good afternoon and welcome to Blueprint for Efficiency, a webinar speaker series hosted by the Center for Business and the Environment at Yale and the MIT Energy Club. My name is Rashik Rahman and I will be your host for this afternoon's presentation entitled The Single Biggest Untapped Source of Energy on the Planet, You. We would like to acknowledge the Emily Hall Tremaine Foundation for their funding support of the Carbon Finance Speaker Series at Yale. A word about our speaker series. The Yale Center for Business and the Environment and the MIT Energy Club are pleased to present the fourth annual installment of the Carbon Finance Speaker Series, Blueprint for Efficiency. This series of public webinars will feature the latest developments in energy efficiency policy, investment, technology, and community engagement, with a special focus on the Department of Energy's Better Buildings program. In today's talk, presented live from Yale Studios in New Haven, Connecticut, our panelists from United Illuminating and OPOWER will discuss behavioral energy efficiency as a solution for meeting energy efficiency mandates. Across the country, states are setting aggressive energy efficiency mandates from 10% to 25% reduction in the coming decade. Smart meters, retrofits, and more efficient appliances will help us achieve our goal, but only if we can get a large portion of households to buy in. Historically, efficiency program participation rates have been low, less than 5%. But emerging broad-scale behavior-based efficiency provides the potential to meet those goals through a combination of small changes in day-to-day consumption among more than 80% of households and by improving participation of traditional energy efficiency programs. Progressive utilities, including United Illuminating, on behalf of the CT Energy Efficiency Fund, are now incorporating behavior-based efficiency into their overall energy savings approach. OPOWER is a leading provider of behavioral efficiency, generating more than 400 gigawatts of savings in 2011 to 50-plus clients across the U.S. Using a multi-channel approach, behavioral science, and leading UX, OPOWER helps households save by removing black box of consumption and motivating consumers to act. Now for a quick word about our panelists. Kirsten Brooks is the program administrator for EE Smarts and the Smart Living Center at United Illuminating, a regulated investor-owned electric utility serving Southern Connecticut. Prior to her role at UI, she held positions at the MIT Media Lab and VH1 Music. She has an MS in Nonprofit Management from New School University and a bachelor's in Journalism from New York University. Barry Fisher is a member of OPOWER's Engagement Management Team, where he works with utility partners to ensure the full delivery of energy efficiency goals. He helps to design and implement home energy reporting programs for utilities across the eastern U.S. Barry studied environmental engineering at Stanford and completed a Fulbright Fellowship researching clean energy in the Pacific Islands. Chris Corcoran works with OPOWER's strategy and marketing team to develop new market opportunities and educate external stakeholders about OPOWER's approach. A former strategy consultant in the Katzenbach Partners energy practice, Chris brings his past exposure to developing smart grid business plans for several investor-owned utilities to OPOWER. Chris studied government and the environment at Harvard. Please welcome Kirsten, Barry, and Chris to Blueprint for Efficiency.
Hi everyone, my name is Barry Fisher from OPOWER, and I'm here with Chris Corcoran and Kirsten Brooks from United Illuminating. My colleague Chris is from OPOWER. So you're here to talk about the potential of residential energy users, such as yourselves, to use less energy and to discuss how OPOWER as a company fits into this picture. So energy efficiency is increasingly viewed by policymakers and also utility companies as an important resource in managing our energy portfolio. And the residential sector accounts for more than 1/3 of non-transportation energy demand in the United States. So household energy use is what we're going to focus on today, and that's what OPOWER focuses on as a company. OPOWER is currently working, as Rashik said, with over 50 electric and gas utility companies, including United Illuminating right here in New Haven, to give residential customers better information, analysis, and advice about their energy use, which in turn enables those customers to better manage their energy use and save on their utility bills. So utility companies are increasingly interested in reducing their customers' energy demand, and you might ask why. One extremely important driver of their interest to reduce customers' energy demand is state-level regulation. And across the country, state legislators and rulemakers are, for environmental and infrastructure reasons, establishing targets to drive down energy demand. And on this map, you will see a bunch of blue states. They are not related to the Electoral College. In any case, it's not about blue states or red states. It's the United States of America. But yeah, these blue states illustrate the states that now have formal regulatory targets for utilities to decrease energy demand. And you will see from sea to shining sea here that these efficiency targets often take the form of 10 to 20% goals, a demanded energy reduction relative to baseline energy demand over the next 10 to 15 years. So I'd like to examine the 20% goal level that a state like Arizona and Massachusetts and Vermont are aspiring to, and point out that 20% is a big reduction when it comes to anything that we consume in substantial volume. Imagine cutting your soda pop intake by 20%, or attending 20% fewer webinars from the Yale Center for Business and the Environment. You need to be creative in tackling such a challenge. So to decrease energy use by 20% on a national level, one possible solution, as you'll see on this next map, is to shut off power to the entire West Coast and most of the Northeast. Some of you might think that is an unreasonable course of action to reduce energy demand by 20%. So another option is to shut off power to the entire Southeast United States and the Central Atlantic. But with the 2012 election season around the corner, this is likely to be politically unfeasible. But let's get serious. Our good friends at McKinsey a couple years ago did a comprehensive investigation of the current profile of non-transportation energy use in the United States between now and 2020, and evaluated the array of opportunities to decrease energy use over that time frame. And the McKinsey team found that a lot of our current energy use in the residential sector especially is simply wasteful. It's not going toward constructive purposes. For example, as you may know, all the small holes and air leaks in the walls of a typical home are equivalent to leaving a window open all day, all year long, which can lead to a lot of wasted energy. And then there's old refrigerators and inefficient lighting, things like that, which result in drawing excessive power. So the McKinsey team found that across the whole residential sector, we're wasting about $395 billion worth of energy. And they found that we can eliminate that waste, and we can cut about 28% of our current energy usage in the residential sector. And to do that would require an upfront investment of $229 billion, which is far below the $395 billion that we're currently wasting. A $165 billion net benefit from that investment seems attractive to me. And a lot of these savings, a lot of this elimination of waste was projected to come from structural improvements to the residential sector, such as sealing air leaks, increasing appliance efficiency, and improving insulation, which are all very important energy-saving initiatives. And many communities across the U.S. have launched programs to implement these kinds of structural improvements. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Chris Corcoran, to discuss a case study of these efforts.
Great, thank you, Barry. We're all sharing one headset here, so apologies in the transition time. So just to recap what Barry said, there are aggressive goals across the U.S. of upwards of 20% efficiency savings. Meanwhile, our good friends, the experts at McKinsey, identified up to 28% in residential savings opportunity. So you might think, well, McKinsey identified 28% opportunity. The goal is only 28% opportunity. That's an 8% surplus. We can all go home now. We've done our job, and we'll get to those goals. But as anyone who's tried to cut down their Coke consumption for 20%, or anyone who's given up something for Lent right now knows, changing your behavior that significantly can be very difficult to achieve. So we want to look at a case study of energy engagement and efficiency savings, and that is in Boulder, Colorado. So in case you're not familiar with it, in 2006, Xcel Energy in Boulder, Colorado launched Smart Grid City. And this was a multi-year, 4 to 5 year program. It was a pilot, which I will mention was focused on the smart grid and testing the technology of the smart grid in the real world, including web portal and in-home devices. There was an overall goal, especially in the residential sector, to help people become smarter users of energy. And as part of that program, more than $100 million was invested to help people make structural upgrades to the grid, but also to provide these web portal tools, in-home displays, and help these 91,000 residents become smarter users of energy efficiency. So just to set the scene, we've got a small town, medium-sized town in Boulder, huge investment, and the goal of engaging people on energy consumption. So this was one of the most progressive pilots in the nation. And, you know, the Wall Street Journal did an audit of the program in February of 2010. Let's see how they did. So specifically what was marketed there were, on the efficiency space, were energy audits for residences and businesses, insulation rebates, conservation kits, and commitments to conserve. This is kind of hard to do on a webinar, but I'm going to put the audience on the spot. Anyone in the room want to guess what the highest participation rate was? Rashek?
2%?
Oh, Rashek says 2%. Maybe he's seen the slide. You can click that. It's 2%. Someone's getting an OPOWER t-shirt. Good job, Rashek. So the point here is, despite all of that massive investment and the attention focused on Smart Grid City, the number of households that signed up for a residential audit was 2%. That's pretty low, especially considering all the focus that went into the program. Why is it? Well, you know, McKinsey identified the economic opportunity. It makes sense. There's a rational argument for people to make these improvements. And so if there's a rational argument and there's an opportunity, why aren't people making these changes? And as Kevin Durant said, he was a researcher at the University of Colorado Law School Environment Center. What we found is that for the vast majority of people, it's exceedingly difficult to get them to do much of anything. And that's disappointing, but it's true. It's very hard, even in the face of these rational economic arguments, to get people to take action. And so what this slide that we're showing now is, let's imagine that we had a 10x penetration of the home audit. Okay, and so instead of 2%, we had 25% of homes participating. And let's imagine that there was substantial opportunity found in each home, and the homes changed their behavior and were able to save 10% on an ongoing basis each year. That 10% from the 25% that engaged would still only be a total of about 2.5% savings across the entire residential sector. That's a huge chunk, and 2.5% reduction is something to be proud of. But it is only a small piece in getting us towards those substantial goals of 10 to 20% savings. You know, you might say 10% for an audit is a bit conservative, but even if we doubled that, we're still substantially lower than our goal. So the challenge now is, well, we've identified that we have these aggressive goals, and we've identified that there are ways to achieve them through structural and technological upgrades. Unfortunately, it's just very difficult to motivate people to save. And even if we were able to motivate a quarter of the population on a single program, we'd still have much more work to do. So what can we do to motivate people to save and really start achieving these efficiency goals?